The dining room of the Lecky duplex glowed with curated perfection, marble floors, imported chandelier, silent air conditioning. Yet beneath the glossy surface, tension pulsed like a warning siren. Amara moved quietly between table and kitchen, setting down sautéed vegetables beside the grilled fish. Fola, small legs dangling from the velvet chair, traced circles in spilled water with one finger. Teo scrolled through his phone, face lit by a cold blue glare. "Where's the wine?" he asked without looking up. "You said you were cutting down," Amara replied softly. "Doctor's advice." The phone clacked against the table as he raised his head slowly. "Are you my doctor?" "No," she adjusted Fola's plate. "But..." The word was cut off by the sudden crash of ceramic. Teo's hand shot out, sweeping a side plate from the table so it shattered inches from Fola's head. The child screamed, jolting back. Sharp fragments skittered across the tiles. "See what you made me do," he said, voice dangerously calm. "You provoke. You correct me in front of my daughter. You think you're better than me because your late father left a little property." Amara swallowed hard, pulse hammering. "Fola, it's okay," she whispered, kneeling to shield the girl. Inside, something ancient and stubborn, survival, perhaps, clicked into place. Teo stood, looming. "Tomorrow you will transfer the funds from that account. I checked today. There's still money, sitting useless. Why haven't you given me access?" "It's for Fola." Her voice trembled. His hand twitched like he might throw something else. Instead, he leaned down. "Nothing in this house is just for Fola. Everything is mine. Even you." After he stalked upstairs, the silence rang heavier than the crash had. Fola clutched Amara's neck. "Mummy, my ear is ringing." Amara kissed her hair, tasting salt from stray tears. That image, her daughter flinching under flying shards, burned into her mind. In the kitchen, she opened the cupboard under the sink and drew out a faded duffel bag she hadn't touched in months. She pressed it flat, then whispered, "We won't wake up here tomorrow." She waited until Fola slept, then tiptoed to Teo's office. His laptop still sat open, password screen glowing. On the bookshelf, a locked drawer, small brass key protruding, carelessly left. Her fingers hesitated. "If he wakes..." But the vow roared louder. She took the key, turned. The drawer clicked open, revealing neatly stacked documents. Among them lay an old brown envelope with her father's handwriting, for Amara, to be delivered. Her breath caught. She slid it into the duffel. Behind her upstairs, a floorboard groaned. She froze, listening. Nothing. Slowly, she closed the drawer, replaced the key, and padded back to Fola's room. Lightning split the distant sky. Amara lay beside her daughter, eyes wide open. She didn't sleep. She watched the digital clock slide toward 3 a.m., each minute a drumbeat of resolve. Dawn seeped pale gray through the curtains when Amara finally sliced the envelope open with a butter knife. Her fingers shook. Inside, a check written months before her father's stroke, modest but enough to breathe. A printed ticket voucher to Accra, Ghana, valid for 1 year. There were still 3 weeks left before expiry. And a handwritten note. "My daughter, if you ever feel trapped, go to the address below. An old friend, Pastor Kweku, owes me more than a favor. Start again with dignity. Your freedom is your inheritance." Amara pressed the paper to her chest. Outside, the compound gate clanged as the gateman exchanged shifts. She had a window of time. She logged into her father's dormant bank account on her phone and initiated a transfer to a new digital wallet she had created secretly. Teo's surveillance apps didn't cover this one. Fola stirred. "Mummy, are we going to school?" "Not today." Amara forced a smile. Adventure day. Downstairs, she packed bread, water, 2 changes of clothes. Fola insisted on carrying her faded teddy, Nkem. Amara looked around the kitchen one last time. The polished counters, the expensive blender Teo flaunted, the refrigerator covered in magnets from trips he took alone. None of it felt like home. At 7, Teo descended in gym clothes. "Why are you dressed?" he asked, eyes narrowing at the bag near the door. I'm taking Fola to the clinic. She's been complaining about ear ringing. He glanced at Fola, who nodded solemnly, hand over ear like an actress. For a moment suspicion lingered in his gaze. Then he waved dismissively.
Fine.
Be back before noon. We're meeting the contractor. Yes. Amara lifted the bag, willing her nerves to remain invisible. She had practiced invisibility for 7 years. She and Fola stepped into the humid morning. The compound gate creaked open. Teo's guard looked up from his stool. Madam, good morning. Good morning, Musa. Please, no need to tell Olga. We might get medicine on the way. Musa shrugged. No problem. Outside the estate, Amara didn't flag a taxi. Instead, she led Fola down a side street toward the bus stop. When they were 2 blocks away, she allowed herself a long exhale. We did it, she whispered. At a roadside kiosk, she purchased 2 SIM cards with cash and inserted one into a cheap phone. She powered off her regular phone completely. Teo could trace it. Minutes later, they found a small eatery. While Fola chewed plantain, Amara booked 2 seats on the 11 a.m. flight to Accra using the voucher details and the name on the check. Her father had paid for escape. She would honor him. Fola peered up. Mummy, are we leaving Daddy forever? Amara chose her words carefully. We're leaving fear. Wherever fear lives, Daddy must stay there alone. Back at the table, she unfolded the note again. Under the address, her father had scribbled a second line. Tell him I didn't forget Cape Coast. Mystery flickered, but there was no time to ponder. She sold her wedding ring at a jeweler near the airport for less than it was worth. The insult stung, but the cash warmed her pocket like promise. At the departure hall, anxiety rose. What if Teo checks the clinic? What if he calls? Her stomach roiled as she handed passports to the agent. At last, 2 boarding passes slid across the counter. She tucked them into Fola's backpack. Can I see the planes? Fola asked. Soon. Amara stroked her daughter's hair and swallowed a sob. The echo of shattering ceramics still rang in her mind, but layered over it now was the flutter of wings. Hours later, as the terminal clock crept past 10, storm clouds gathered over Lagos. The flight had been delayed twice. Each announcement tightened Amara's nerves. She imagined Teo discovering their absence, calling, tracking. Her old phone, still off, felt like a grenade inside her bag. Fola had fallen asleep across her lap. Around them, passengers muttered, scrolling, complaining. Neon reflections quivered on the glass as rain began to fall. A message request buzzed on the cheap phone, an unknown number. Where are you? Musa says clinic close. Then another, sharper. Amara, answer me now. Her breath shortened. She typed back, fingers steady. At the hospital, they kept us for observation. Phone battery low. She hit send, heart racing. Minutes stretched. No reply. Perhaps he bought it. Perhaps not. At 11:52 p.m., the intercom crackled. Final boarding for Flight 7G to Accra. Relief almost knocked her to the floor. She carried sleeping Fola onto the plane, duffel slung across her shoulder like a lifeline. Inside, the cabin hummed with recirculated air and low chatter. Amara eased into seat 14B, Fola curled against her. She buckled them both. Her palm left damp prints on the armrest. As the plane taxied, her old phone suddenly vibrated inside the bag. Powered on somehow? She fumbled it out. The screen flickered to life. Maybe the button had been pressed by mistake. Dozens of notifications exploded. Missed calls, messages. One voice note auto-downloaded. Against instinct, she pressed play quietly. Teo's voice filled her ear, venomous whisper. You think you can run? You and that girl belong to me. If you aren't back by morning, I will make sure every kobo of your father's estate burns. Cold terror flooded her limbs. She closed the phone and, after a heartbeat's hesitation, snapped the SIM card in half. She dropped the pieces into the airsick bag, hands trembling. The aircraft lifted into darkness. Lagos shrank, a scatter of gold beads through rain. Amara leaned her forehead against the window. We're free, she murmured. Fola stirred. Where are we going? Somewhere new, Amara whispered. The plane sliced through a cloud, and for a moment everything outside was white, blank, like a page waiting to be written. The flight attendant gently woke Fola to fasten her belt. When Amara looked up, the aisle seat beside them was occupied by a tall man in a charcoal jacket.
He had joined while she dozed.
His features were sharply cut, dark skin smooth, eyes thoughtful. He offered a small smile. I'm Jordan, he said, voice low enough not to disturb sleeping passengers. Looks like we'll be neighbors till across.
Amara nodded, wary.
Her shoulders still wore the reflexive hunch of a woman measuring threats. Fola yawned theatrically. Jordan reached into his pocket and produced a wrapped candy. With Mum's permission? Fola looked to Amara. At her nod, the child accepted. Thank you, Fola mumbled, chewing happily. Amara tried to appear calm as the plane hit a pocket of turbulence. The cabin lights flickered. Her fingers clamped the armrest. Jordan noticed. First time, he asked gently.
No.
Just tired. He angled his body, shielding her from the aisle as though creating a small fortress. Sometimes leaving is braver than staying, he said suddenly. Her eyes snapped to him. What? He smiled faintly. You keep glancing behind like you expect someone to appear. I've seen that look before. Heat flooded her cheeks. I don't know what you mean. Of course. He lifted his hands in surrender. Forgive me. The plane jostled again. Amara inhaled sharply. Jordan began a calm narration. See those wing lights? They help pilots judge distance in low visibility. I studied aviation for a year before switching paths. He spoke of runways, crosswinds, mundane facts that steadied her breathing. By the time turbulence eased, her grip had loosened. Fola leaned across Amara. Are you a pilot? Not anymore, he said softly. Now I work with people starting over. A strange answer. Amara's curiosity sparked but retreated behind caution. Thank you for distracting her, she said. Distracting you, he corrected with a knowing glance. As cabin lights dimmed, Jordan withdrew a small leather sketchbook and pencil. Lines flowed beneath his fingers, economical, confident. Fola watched, mesmerized. Within minutes, the outline of a sleeping passenger appeared on the page, capturing drooped jaw and rumpled collar with intimate precision. Amara couldn't help admiring the talent. Jordan noticed her gaze. Drawing keeps me from thinking too much, he murmured. What do you think about? She asked before she could stop herself. He paused, pencil hovering.
The past.
The ones I couldn't save. Something unreadable flashed across his face, then vanished beneath a polite smile. But tonight, I think about turbulence and wing lights. Amara turned away, unsettled yet oddly comforted. As she settled Fola's blanket, a feeling brushed her, a sense that fate, for once, might be leaning in her direction. Halfway through the flight, a deeper turbulence rolled, rattling overhead bins. Oxygen masks did not drop, but several passengers gasped. Fola whimpered. Amara's muscles locked. Memories surged, Teo slamming doors, plates exploding. Her chest tightened. Jordan's voice cut through the drone. Look at me, not the window. She forced her eyes to his. His gaze was steady, dark irises reflecting cabin lights like twin lanterns. Breathe with me, he said. They inhaled together, 4 counts in, hold, 6 counts out. After several cycles, the fear haze thinned. Fola copied them, giggling mid-exhale. It's like blowing birthday candles. The turbulence passed. Applause rustled, absurd and relieving. Amara sagged back. Thank you, she whispered. Jordan nodded and returned to his sketchbook. Fola craned her neck. Can you draw me? He chuckled. Hold still. He began to sketch Fola's afro puffs, the curve of her smile. Amara relaxed, lulled by the soft scratch of pencil. She glanced at the previous page and froze. One of the faces Jordan had drawn earlier was a woman. Delicate jawline, guarded eyes, a faint scar near the eyebrow. It looked astonishingly like Amara, save for braided hair instead of her current low bun. How did you? She stopped, throat tight. Jordan followed her gaze.
Oh,
He hesitated. That's my sister, Iphioma. His tone shifted, waited.
she passed.
I'm sorry, Amara said softly. He traced the page's edge. She stayed with a man who broke her slowly. When she finally tried to leave, he made sure she never did. Since then I draw her in different futures. Helps me believe they still exist somewhere. He shut the book gently. Forgive me if resemblance startled you. Emotions swelled in Amara, grief braided with recognition. He used to break me slowly too, she said before fear could silence her. The confession hung fragile between them. Jordan's expression didn't shift into pity, only quiet acknowledgement. Are you leaving him now? She nodded. If he finds us, words failed. Jordan considered, then slid a business card from his wallet. It bore a minimalist logo and the words, New Dawn Foundation, Transitional Support Services. A Ghanaian phone number underneath. When we land, if you need somewhere safe for few nights, call. No pressure. Amara traced the card. Why help me?
You don't know me.
He offered a small, sad smile. I know the look in your daughter's eyes when a loud noise happens. And I know my sister would haunt me if I sat quietly beside someone boarding their first lifeboat. Silence settled, full yet gentle. Fola studied the card upside down. Is this like a superhero club? Something like that, Jordan said. For the first time in years, Amara allowed a flicker of hope to root inside her chest. Not wild or melodramatic, just a steady pulse. Outside, dawn began to bloom along the horizon, a thin strip of gold slicing the darkness. She folded the card into her wallet beside her father's note. Ahead lay uncertainties, border control, the address in Ghana, Teyo's potential rage. But she was no longer entirely alone. Seat 14A held a man carrying his own scars, offering not rescue. She didn't want a savior, but solidarity. Amara closed her eyes, inhaling recycled air that, for the first time, tasted faintly of possibility. The plane glided toward Accra, towards the rest of her story. Daylight warmed the Accra terminal as passengers shuffled toward immigration. Amara's heart hammered at every uniform. She clutched Fola's hand and the documents, a tangle of passports, voucher stub, her father's note folded inside her wallet. Jordan moved beside them, an unobtrusive shadow. At the counter, the immigration officer scanned their passports. Purpose of visit, he asked. Short stay, family matters, Amara replied. Her voice wobbled. Fola squeezed tighter. The officer's gaze flicked to Jordan. And you? Jordan lifted his hands. Separate, he said. Just helping them find the baggage claim. The officer stamped Amara's entry without further questions. Relief broke over her in a dizzy wave. Past the barrier, the terminal opened into a bustle of porters and relatives waving phones. The air smelled of fried plantain and jet fuel. They paused near a pillar.
Thank you, Amara said.
We can find our way now. Jordan nodded. Remember the card. Call if you need. He hesitated, then crouched to Fola's level. Take care of Mum, superhero. Fola saluted solemnly. Yes, sir. As he turned to leave, Fola tugged Amara's arm. Mummy, can we see his drawings again? Amara looked back. Jordan had found a bench. The sketchbook lay open on his lap. Sunlight caught the side of his face, softening the haunted angles. Fola dashed back before Amara could protest. He welcomed them with a small smile. One more, he offered. Curiosity overcame caution. Amara sat at the very edge of the bench. Jordan flipped to a clean page. Hold hands, he instructed. Fola eagerly clasped Amara's fingers. His pencil moved, swift arcs, faint shading. Within minutes, two figures emerged, a woman's protective curve around a child, their heads leaning together like halves of a whole. Jordan added a small bird perched above them. Freedom, he murmured. Fola beamed. Can we keep it? Jordan tore the page carefully and handed it over. On the back, he wrote the address of the New Dawn safe house. If you change your mind. Amara folded the drawing with reverence. Why a bird? She asked. Jordan's eyes darkened, grief rippling like a shadow. because caged wings still remember how to beat. He closed the book, formally ending the exchange. Stay safe, Amara. Then he walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Fola waved until he vanished. Are we going to the birdhouse? She asked. Amara considered the crumpled address to Pastor Kweku. 2 options, one rooted in her father's trust, the other in a stranger's compassion. First, we try Grandpa's friend, she said. If it fails, we call. Outside, the Ghanaian heat embraced them. They hired a taxi toward Aburi Hill, climbing winding roads lined with lush greenery. Fola fell asleep with the drawing clutched to her chest, the bird's wings hidden inside folded paper. The taxi pulled into a shaded lay-by near the Aburi Botanical Gardens. Pastor Kweku's guest house stood beyond a rusted gate, a 2-story colonial relic with peeling paint and a wide veranda. Wind chimes tinkled lazily. For a moment hope soared. Then Amara's gaze snagged on a man leaning against a parked SUV across the road, phone pressed to his ear. His profile, a sharp beard, narrow shoulders, looked disturbingly familiar. Her stomach plunged. Teyo's associate, Kunnel. He'd visited Lagos twice, delivering envelopes of cash and whispered updates. How did he? Panic surged. Kunnel glanced up casually. Amara jerked Fola behind a tree trunk. Her mind raced. If he had seen them, he'd call Teyo. Maybe he already had. Flight instinct roared. But where? She had limited money, no local knowledge. At that instant, a calm voice said behind her, Everything all right? Jordan. He stood at the gate, suitcase in hand. Surprise shot through her. You followed us? No, his gaze followed hers. The subtle tightening of his jaw told her he recognized danger. I came to deliver something I forgot. He lifted the sketchbook half an inch, a lie transparent but welcome. Is that man a problem? Amara nodded, throat tight. He works for my husband. Jordan's assessment was swift. He set down his suitcase, shrugged off his jacket, and looped an arm around Amara's shoulders with practiced ease. Then let him see a family. He leaned toward her, murmuring, Trust me for 30 seconds. Fola instinctively pressed close. They walked out from behind the tree. Jordan's arm remained protective around Amara, his free hand carrying the suitcase. Kunnel's expression flickered, confusion, suspicion. His phone lowered. Jordan called out cheerfully, accent shifting to casual Ghanaian English. Excuse me, brother. Is this the guest house we booked? My wife's mother recommended it. He squeezed Amara's shoulder in a silent cue. Kunnel's eyes darted over them. Marriage ring? Clothes? Fola clinging. He hesitated, then forced a polite smile. I'm just leaving. Enjoy. He stepped into the SUV. Engine roared. The vehicle pulled away, disappearing around the bend. Amara sagged. Jordan released her, maintaining respectful distance again. He'll report he saw nothing unusual, Jordan said. A woman with her husband and child is boring intelligence. Trembling, Amara wiped her eyes. Thank you. Let's secure you before he thinks harder. Jordan lifted the latch and led them onto the veranda. Inside, the guest house smelled of old wood and hibiscus tea. A portly man in a linen shirt emerged, spectacles sliding down his nose. Yes? May I? His words broke off as he saw Amara. Tears flooded his eyes. You are Namdi's daughter. You have his mother's cheekbones. Emotion cracked Amara's composure. Pastor Kweku. He enveloped her in a paternal embrace, then inspected Fola with wonder. And this must be his grandchild by spirit. He ushered them to a sitting room channeled with filtered light. You're safe here. I promised your father. Jordan hovered near the door. My part ends here, he said. Pastor Kweku looked between them, comprehension dawning. You brought them? Not exactly, Jordan replied. Call me if you need legal resources. He passed the pastor a card similar to Amara's and inclined his head to her. Rest. Fola ran forward unexpectedly and hugged his leg. Thank you, superhero. Jordan's composure softened. He patted her head, then departed. That night, Amara tucked Fola into a bed with mosquito netting. Outside, frogs croaked. For the first time in months, Fola's sleep was deep and untroubled. No cries, no thrashing. Amara sat beside her, hands clasped. Maybe this can hold, she thought. The drawing of the bird lay on the nightstand, wings unfurling in graphite. Morning painted the hills emerald. Pastor Kweku served yam porridge on the veranda. Your father helped me after a scandal when I was young, he said. Sheltered me. I owe him forever. You can stay until you decide next steps. Amara bowed her head. I only have a little money. I can cook, clean. He waved dismissively. Your presence repays a debt. While Fola explored the garden with the pastor's grandchildren, Amara sat with her father's note. Grief mingled with guilt. She had ignored Mama Chica for years under Teyo's isolating pressure. I should tell her we're alive. But contacting Nigeria felt like pulling a tiger's tail. The cheap phone buzzed. A Ghanaian number. Amara answered cautiously. Jordan's voice drifted through. Checking you arrived safely. We did. Thank you. Silence grew comfortable. He cleared his throat. If the man yesterday reports to your husband, there may be follow-up. Have you preserved any evidence of abuse? Amara hesitated. I have voice notes. Photos of bruises on an old tablet. They're scattered. Collect them. Document timeline. If he crosses borders to harass you, authorities respond better with organized evidence. His tone was professional, measured. I can connect you with a lawyer. Teyo's control always felt like a fog. Jordan's pragmatic steps sliced through it. All right, she whispered. I'll gather everything. That evening, after Fola fell asleep, Amara charged the neglected tablet. Notifications bloomed. Cartoon games, school updates. Hidden between them were audio files Fola had recorded accidentally or curiously. Teyo berating Amara, threatening, promising to cut off that noisy brat's schooling. Amara hunched over, tears dripping silently as she listened. Shame tried to creep in. She batted it away. Shame belonged to the abuser. She transferred the files to a newly purchased USB drive Pastor Kweku found in his desk. The little device gleamed like a key. She added dated photos, yellowing bruises along her ribs, a split lip. Seeing them lined in folders felt like confronting a stranger's pain. That woman is gone, she told herself, though the ache still echoed in her bones. Before sleep, she texted Jordan one line. Evidence collected. He responded almost immediately. Good. Rest. For the first time, rest felt like an instruction she could obey. The following afternoon, Fola's giggles floated through the hallway as she played with the pastor's grandchildren. Amara sat cross-legged on the floor, sorting digital files. Each clip she labeled. Date. Context. Threat. The process was brutal self-surgery. Halfway through, she discovered a folder she hadn't noticed. Videos Fola had recorded while hiding behind furniture. One opened to show Teyo's legs pacing, his voice hissing. If you ever take my child out of this country, you'll disappear, Amara. Money buys silence. Another video captured him ripping a necklace from her throat. Nausea churned. Yet the horror sharpened her resolve. She exported everything to the USB, then to a cloud drive Jordan recommended. Backups upon backups. Teyo could burn the world, and the evidence would survive. Fola wandered in, face sweaty. Mummy, can we go outside? It smells like rain. In a moment, Amara closed the tablet. Sweetheart, those recordings you made, did you know you were helping? Fola shrugged. I just pressed the red circle when Daddy shouted. I wanted Grandma to hear one day. Tears blurred Amara's vision. You are brave, she said. She hugged Fola fiercely. Later, while Fola napped, Amara's cheap phone rang again. The screen displayed a Nigerian number she recognized. Ngozi, Teyo's sister. Fear flared. She let it ring out. Seconds later, a message arrived. Amara, I just want to know you and the child are safe. Teyo is worried sick. Please call. Amara's hands shook as she typed a draft reply and deleted it. She forwarded the message to Jordan instead. His answer came, do not respond. She may be gathering information. We'll log it. Evening fell with bruised purple clouds. Amara watched Fola sleep, cheeks flushed with healthy color. In her mind, she replayed Teo's threats, then replaced them with the pastor's promise. You are safe here. She almost believed it, until headlights swept across the window. She peered through the curtain. A car idled outside the gate briefly, then pulled away. Perhaps nothing. Yet dread sat heavy. Tomorrow, she decided she would travel farther, to Cape Coast to Mama Chica. Hiding indefinitely invited discovery. Better to move, to gather reinforcements. She texted Jordan. Thinking to visit my mother in Cape Coast. His reply, smart. Distance complicates pursuit. I can connect you with a lawyer there if needed. She typed, thank you for everything. His answer paused longer this time. You're doing it yourself. I'm just handing you tools. Morning light streamed across packed bags. Pastor Kweku loaded them into his van. Cape Coast Road is clear at this hour, he assured. Your mother will rejoice. As they prepared to leave, the cheap phone rang again, Ngozi. Against instinct, Amara answered, placing it on speaker so the pastor could hear. Amara, Ngozi's tone dripped with counterfeit tenderness. Thank God. Teo is devastated. He hasn't slept. Please, just tell us where you are so we can send support. I'm fine, Amara said carefully. Fola is fine. Ngozi exhaled exaggerated relief. Good. Teo says, maybe you had a breakdown. He forgives you. Come home. We can talk. You know running with a child is illegal, yes? The pastor's eyebrows shot up. He shook his head silently, do not engage. Amara's spine stiffened. What's illegal is endangering her, she replied quietly. Ngozi's sweetness cracked. Listen, girl. You don't know the people your husband can hire. Wherever you think you're hiding, a muffled male voice interrupted. Teo perhaps, hissing instructions. Ngozi returned, voice sharper. If you push this, you will lose custody and every naira. Think about your daughter's future. Amara ended the call without a word. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. Adrenaline surged like electricity. The pastor nodded approvingly. Threats recorded? She checked. The phone's auto-record setting, Jordan's suggestion, had captured the entire conversation. Yes. Good. We add it to the file. Pastor Kweku started the van. As they pulled away, Amara glimpsed a distant figure emerging from the trees. Perhaps a farmer, perhaps a watcher. Either way, distance grew with every kilometer. Fola leaned forward between the seats. Where are we going now? To see Grandma, Amara said. Saying it out loud loosened something inside her chest. Halfway down the hill, her phone buzzed again, this time a foreign number. She answered warily. Amara, it's Jordan. His voice held an edge. Ngozi just reached out? Her call triggered a notification I set. I've spoken to a lawyer in Cape Coast. Meet him this afternoon. He'll explain protection order procedures. If Teo enters Ghana to harass you, we build a case fast. Thank you. The words felt insufficient. Also, he added softer, you're doing well. Abusers build their whole kingdom on you believing you can't move without them. Every kilometer you drive is demolition. Tears stung. Jordan, why do you care so much? A pause crackled. Because someone once said those words to my sister and didn't act. I refuse to be that person again. He cleared his throat. Text when you arrive. The line disconnected. As the van merged onto the coastal highway, salt wind rushed through open windows. Fola sang nonsense syllables, her laughter swallowed by the roar of waves in the distance. Amara placed a hand over the pocket containing the USB stick. Past suffering had become evidence. Fear had become motion. Ahead waited reconciliation with her mother, and the next chapter of defiance. She leaned back, allowing the rhythm of tires on asphalt to drum a single truth into her bones. She was no longer running from something alone. She was running toward a life she chose. Cape Coast's humidity wrapped Amara like a damp shawl as the van rolled into her mother's neighborhood, a cluster of weathered bungalows softened by mango trees. Mama Chica's house, once vibrant yellow, had faded to a gentle mustard. Laundry swayed like flags of surrender. Amara's stomach twisted. She had not stood on this soil for 3 years. Mama Chica opened the door before they knocked, as if some maternal radar had been pinging for hours. Lines of hurt and stubborn love framed her dark face. "So you remember the road home," she said, voice brittle. Fola peeked from behind Amara's skirt. "Grandma?" Something shattered inside Mama Chica's sternness. She dropped to her knees, arms flinging wide. "Come here, my sunshine." Fola barreled into the embrace. Tears glistened in both their eyes. Amara stood awkwardly, an exile at her own reunion. "I'm sorry," Amara whispered. Mama Chica rose, scanning her daughter's face, noting shadows beneath eyes, faint healed scars along cheekbone. "Inside," she ordered. "We talk after the child eats." Hours later, after stew and nervous small talk, the conversation sharpened. Mama Chica's voice lowered. "Did he hit you?" Amara hesitated. "Sometimes. More often he twisted things. Made me feel mad." Mama Chica clicked her tongue. "I warned you Teo's smile was a borrowed suit." Amara stiffened. "You also told me to stay. You said marriage is endurance." Silence thudded. Regret softened Mama Chica's features. "I repeated what my mother told me. I will not curse you with the same script. You leaving saves your child." She grasped Amara's hands. "Forgive my delay in learning." Relief and grief collided. Amara sobbed into her mother's shoulder, like a girl again. That evening, Jordan called to confirm the meeting with the lawyer, Barrister Mensah. Over the crackling line, Mama Chica listened, arms folded. After the call, she asked, "Who is this Jordan? You trust him too easily. He helped us when Teo's man found us," Amara said. "He runs some foundation for women." Mama Chica narrowed her eyes. "Men who rescue sometimes expect payment in kind." "He hasn't asked for anything," Amara insisted. A few days later, they met Barrister Mensah in a modest office near the courthouse. Jordan was already there, sleeves rolled, tie loosened, speaking quietly with the lawyer. As Amara entered with Fola and Mama Chica, he stood. Barrister Mensah reviewed the evidence, voice notes, threatening calls, videos. "This is substantial," he said. "We can file for an interim protection order here. If your husband steps foot to intimidate you, authorities can detain him." Jordan added, "New Dawn can sponsor relocation if needed. We also provide therapy." Mama Chica cut in sharply. "Why?" Jordan met her scrutiny without flinching. "Because my sister died when no one intervened. I spent the last 2 years building what she needed." He slid a file across the desk, annual reports, registration documents, photos of workshops. Transparency incarnate. Mama Chica scanned them, then gave a grudging nod. "Pain made you useful, at least." Amara fought a smile. "Mum." Jordan's lips twitched. "I take that as blessing." When they left, Mama Chica muttered, "We watch him, still." Yet later that night, Amara caught her mother tucking Jordan's cards safely into a Bible, an endorsement in its own dialect. As paperwork began, Amara noticed a shift. Jordan no longer felt like a mysterious stranger. He was a man carrying grief like a lantern, illuminating a path she didn't know existed. Life settled into an uneasy rhythm. Fola started blending with local children, her laughter skipping across the compound. Amara helped Mama Chica sell smoked fish at the roadside stall, fingers reacquainting with motions of a former life. The domestic simplicity soothed, yet tension knotted beneath. Teo's silence. One evening, as orange dusk bled into indigo, Mama Chica broached a subject. "You have not told me everything. The emptiness in your eyes reaches deeper." Amara wiped her hands on a cloth. The secret pressed at her throat. "There was a will, Baba's. Teo hid it. It gave me control of a small property and some savings for Fola. He demanded access." Mama Chica's face hardened. "He stole from the dead." "I found the envelope before leaving," Amara continued. "It saved us." Mama Chica closed her eyes, murmuring a prayer of thanks mixed with lament. "Your father trusted me to watch over you, and I let distance grow." She opened a box from a shelf and withdrew a small necklace, silver pendant shaped like a cowrie shell. "Your father gave me this the day you married." Said if ever you returned broken, I should remind you, you came from resilience. She clasped it around Amara's neck. Tears shimmered. Thank you. Later that night, Amara received a new message from an unknown Ghanaian number. Madam, appointment tomorrow by 11 regarding protection order. Bring identification. Official formatting. Progress. The next afternoon at the courthouse, the waiting room hummed with humanity. Vendors, anxious spouses, stern clerks. Jordan joined them silently, handing Fola a coloring book. Mensa is preparing the filing, he explained. Inside the clerk's office, Amara recited incidents. Each word felt like exorcising ghosts. He shattered a plate near my child's head. He threatened to burn my father's estate. He monitored my accounts. The clerk typed diligently. Afterward, Jordan guided her to a modest cafe. Steam perfumed with coffee and cardamom curled around them. You spoke powerfully, he said. I felt naked. He nodded. Exposure is the first layer of armor. Secrecy is where abusers thrive. He hesitated, then added, I'm proud of you. Heat rose in her cheeks, a blush she hadn't felt in years. Thank you. On their walk back, a motorbike slowed beside them. The rider wore a helmet, visor dark. He circled once, then sped off. Jordan's jaw tightened. Stay alert, he murmured. I'll ask New Dawn contacts to monitor arrivals from Nigeria. That night, thunder rolled across the coast. Fola crawled into Amara's bed, frightened. As lightning flashed, Amara no longer saw plates or fists. She saw paperwork filed, community building around them. Safety, still fragile, began to feel tangible. 2 days later, while preparing fish at the stall, Amara's phone buzzed with a message from a Lagos neighbor. Rumor, Teo flew to Ghana this morning. Her skin prickled. Minutes later, another number sent. He asked about Abori area first. Be careful. Amara's pulse pounded. She dialed Jordan. He's here. I'll come immediately, he said. Do not go home until I arrive. She and Mama Chica closed the stall early. At the house, Jordan and Barrister Mensa arrived with urgency. We accelerate the interim order, the lawyer said. If he approaches, call Detective Olu. Jordan briefed him already. Detective Olu? Amara repeated. A friend of New Dawn stationed in Accra temporarily, Jordan clarified. He can liaise with Lagos authorities later. Fola sensed the tension, clinging to Amara's leg. Is Daddy coming? Amara knelt. Yes, but we have helpers now. Barrister Mensa produced documents. Sign, here acknowledging application. She signed, hand trembling. Evening descended heavy. Jordan insisted on staying in the sitting room. Mama Chica slept upright with a pestle across her lap, like a weapon. Every creak amplified dread. Around midnight, a soft knock rattled the front door. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Fola stirred. Amara froze. Jordan moved to the peephole. His body went rigid. He mouthed, Teo. A voice, smooth, coaxing, slid through the wood. Amara? My love. I came for my family. Let's talk like adults. Amara's bones quivered. Jordan whispered, Do not respond. He dialed Detective Olu. Teo continued, tone sharpening. You think foreigners can hide you? I will drag you through courts till you're barefoot. Give me my child, and I forget this madness. Fola whimpered. Mama Chica gripped her hand. Amara's fear threatened to swallow her. Then she remembered Jordan's breathing exercise. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Courage seeped back. Blue lights painted the window moments later. Police vehicles. Detective Olu, tall and lean, approached with officers. Sir, step away from the door, he commanded. Teo's voice shifted to outrage. That's my wife. You can't. Ghanaian law can, Detective Olu said coolly. You are cautioned. Any threats recorded will be evidence. Teo retreated, spitting curses. He left, tires spitting gravel. Inside, Amara sagged. Jordan exhaled slowly. We have 24 hours to secure the order. He will try again. Amara nodded, adrenaline singing. Fear remained, but a new emotion simmered beneath: defiance. The next morning, they convened at the courthouse under overcast skies. Barrister Mensah filed an urgent motion citing last night's confrontation and audio recordings Jordan had captured on his phone from near the door. The judge, a woman with stern spectacles, reviewed hurried transcripts. "You allege harassment and threats across borders," she said. "Evidence." Mensah presented the USB stick, printed logs, call recordings including Ngozi's coercive call. Amara's pulse hammered as her private nightmare became public record. The judge listened to snippets. Teyo's hissed, "You and that girl belong to me." Ngozi's manipulative veneer. Teyo's demand at the door. The judge's expression hardened. Interim protection order is granted. Respondent must remain 100 meters from applicant and child, refrain from communication, and surrender any attempt at removal. Violation will result in arrest pending extradition procedures. Her gavel tapped once, sound of a chain snapping. Relief swelled. Jordan squeezed Amara's shoulder, a professional gesture yet electric. Outside the courthouse, Detective Olu awaited. "Order copies will be served at his lodge," he said. "We anticipate he'll test boundaries. Document everything." That afternoon, Amara recorded a video statement as advised, calmly reading the order aloud, stating she felt threatened but trusted Ghanaian law. The clip stored in multiple clouds served as a deterrent and backup if anything happened. Near sunset, Teyo attempted contact, a text brimming with faux contrition. "We can reconcile privately. Don't ruin our family." Jordan advised no response. Instead, Detective Olu delivered the order personally. Reports came back. Teyo hurled it against a wall. That night, Amara slept deeper than she expected. Dreams of shattering plates were replaced by a judge's gavel reverberating like a protective drum. Morning light gilded the modest kitchen as Amara brewed tea. Fola colored at the table. Jordan arrived with a laptop bag. "Mensah wants digital duplicates with timestamps for court readiness," he explained. They spread materials across the table: USB stick, tablet, printed transcripts. Jordan's fingers moved with efficient grace, copying, labeling. "Chain of custody is vital," he said. "If Teyo claims fabrication, we show metadata." Amara studied him. "You speak like a lawyer." He smiled wryly. "I studied law briefly after Ifeoma died. Didn't finish. Building New Dawn felt more urgent." She hesitated. "Does helping me hurt you? Reopening wounds?" He paused, eyes distant. "Pain unused festers. Pain purposed becomes infrastructure." He looked up. "You and Fola are not my sister, but helping you honors her memory." Emotion pricked Amara's eyes. "I don't want to be another project," she whispered. Jordan closed the laptop gently. "You aren't. The moment the order is secure and you have independent support, I step back. I promise." A knock interrupted. Barrister Mensah entered with a grin. "News. Media outlet interested in anonymous survivor story to raise awareness. Could pressure Teyo to retreat permanently. Consider it." Amara's instinct recoiled. Publicity felt like standing under a magnifying glass. Jordan read her hesitation. "Choice is yours," he said. "Survival doesn't owe anyone spectacle." She inhaled. "Maybe later. First, I want peace." Mensah nodded. "Understood. Meanwhile, we'll prepare for possible custody filings, preemptive rather than reactive." He left. After he departed, Fola handed Jordan a drawing. 3 stick figures holding hands beneath a bird. "This is us," she declared. "Mummy, me, and you. The bird is Grandma's prayers." Jordan's throat bobbed. He tucked the drawing carefully into his notebook. "Thank you, superhero." Later that afternoon, Amara and Jordan walked along the beach while Mama Chica watched Fola. Waves collapsed at their feet, residue fizzing like quiet applause. "I feel strange," Amara admitted. "Like my life is restarting, but I don't know the script." Jordan skipped a stone across the water. "Scripts are overrated. You survived improvisation for 7 years. Now you get to compose." She smiled genuinely, rare, unguarded. "Will you still answer if I call after you step back?" He met her gaze.
Yes.
Some doors stay unlocked. As they return to the house, Amara slipped the USB stick into a small decorative tin, sealing it beneath her father's note. It no longer felt like a symbol of trauma, but a tool, a lever tilting power away from Teo. Chapters of fear were giving way to strategy. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time, Amara held the pen. The afternoon heat pressed heavy over Cape Coast when the confrontation Amara had been dreading finally arrived. She was returning from the market, plantains balanced in a woven basket, when she spotted a familiar black SUV idling near Mama Chica's gate. Pulse stuttering, she froze in the shadow of a neem tree. Teo leaned against the hood, immaculate in a crisp linen shirt, as if posing for a brochure on respectable husbands. Only the glitter of rage in his eyes betrayed the rot. Jordan stood outside the gate already, summoned by an alert system New Dawn had quietly set. Teo's name had appeared on a lodging registry, triggering a text. Jordan's posture was calm, but his shoulders were taut, weight shifted slightly forward. Inside the compound, Mama Chica shepherded Fola toward the back room. Teo's smile slid toward Amara like oil.
Finally, he said.
You look thinner. Running doesn't suit you. Amara forced slow breaths. The small phone in her pocket was open to the recording app exactly as Jordan had coached. She stepped into the sunlight deliberately, closing the distance until his cologne, sharp citrus and something metallic, burned her nose. You are violating a protection order, she said. Her voice quavered only slightly. He laughed, loud enough to attract a couple of passers-by. This farce? Paper insults.
Come home.
We settle privately. I even told Ngozi to forgive your episode. I'm not sick, Amara replied. You are being recorded. Jordan added, authorities are en route, Mr. Teo. Leave now and minimize consequences. Teo's gaze flicked to Jordan, lips curling. And who are you? Another man sniffing around what is mine. He turned back to Amara, voice dropping venomous. You think this stranger cares after the novelty fades? He will leave. I am permanent. I have money. I have lawyers. Courts favor stability. You kidnapped my child. Amara's chest tightened, but she remembered Fola's laughter, the gavel's echo. You endangered her, she said steadily. I have evidence of threats. You will not take her. He stepped closer, menace radiating. Jordan shifted between them. Don't, Jordan warned quietly. Teo sneered. What will you do? Draw me a sad picture? Sirens wailed faintly, growing louder. Teo's expression flickered, calculation battling temper. This isn't over, he hissed. I will appeal. I will drag you until you beg. Amara lifted her phone higher so the microphone caught every syllable. Thank you for repeating the threat, she said. It strengthens my file. Police vehicles turned the corner. Teo cursed, backing toward the SUV. Enjoy your illusion, he spat. Rain always washes chalk drawings away. He climbed into the vehicle and sped off just as Detective Olu's car arrived. Olu assessed them quickly. You all right? Amara nodded, though her knees trembled. Jordan's hand hovered an inch from her back, offering steadiness without assumption. She leaned into that invisible support. I recorded everything, she said. Good, Detective Olu replied. We'll add it to the harassment dossier. We move for full order and potential charges tomorrow. Keep your routines cautious tonight. When the officers left, Amara released a shaking breath. He looked at me like I was still a possession, she murmured. Jordan met her gaze. He saw something he can't purchase. Your refusal. That threatens him more than courts. Inside, Fola darted into Amara's arms. Did Daddy go? Yes, Amara whispered into her daughter's hair. And he cannot break us anymore. Dawn painted the sea pale silver when news arrived. Detective Olu called. Teo had attempted to bribe a clerk to access Amara's case file. The clerk, already briefed, alerted authorities. We detained him, Olu said. Charges, harassment, attempted bribery, and cross-border intimidation. Come to the station to formalize your statement. Amara trembled, shock mingling with relief. Mama Chica insisted on accompanying her. Jordan drove. The station smelled of paper, stale coffee, and a faint metallic tang. Through a narrow window, Amara glimpsed Teo seated behind bars in a holding cell. The sight jolted her. His power looked smaller here, shirt wrinkled, composure fraying. He noticed her and launched into a performance. Amara. They twisted everything. Tell them we had a marital disagreement. She faced him calmly. I will tell the truth. At the desk, she gave a formal statement, presenting recordings and summarizing years of coercion. Barrister Mensa joined, guiding her through phrasing. Jordan waited in the corridor, giving privacy. When she finished, Detective Olu approached. With your evidence, prosecution is viable. Nigerian authorities cooperate increasingly on domestic cases. Extradition back for prosecution there or charges here are options. He may secure bail, but movement will be restricted. Amara swallowed. What if he retaliates legally? Let him, Mensa said. Your documented timeline preempts him. We also file for custody recognition here. Ghanaian court can liaise with Nigerian counterpart. As they departed, Teo called after her, voice cracking. You are nothing without my name. Amara paused. Without turning, she replied, I am discovering who I am without it. She stepped into sunlight that seemed brighter than when she entered. Outside, Jordan studied her carefully. How do you feel? She considered. Light and frightened of what comes next. Both can exist. Absolutely, he said. Healing is messy arithmetic. Days unfolded with intense administrative motion, legal forms, therapy introductions, planning Fola's schooling. Teo's hearing set for the following week. Media sniffed at the edges, domestic abuse cases involving wealth drew clicks. Amara stayed anonymous for now, focusing on stabilizing. One evening, she joined a New Dawn support group session. Women and one man sat in a circle, sharing fragments of survival. Amara listened, heart swelling with collective courage. When her turn arrived, words poured out, shame, fear, the plate smashing, the flight. Applause, gentle, respectful, followed. Jordan watched unobtrusively from a doorway, eyes shining with something like pride. That night, Amara slept without nightmares. The cell door containing Teo felt like a boundary her mind could finally rest against. A week later, Barrister Mensa suggested strategic publicity. Silence lets his narrative breathe, he said. Controlled exposure could pressure him into settlement and inspire others. Amara hesitated. I don't want to be paraded. Jordan nodded. Then we set terms. Anonymous face shadowed, voice slightly altered. You retain agency. After reflection and Fola's simple assertion, maybe other mummies need help, Amara agreed. New Dawn arranged a reputable journalist known for sensitive reporting. The interview took place in a softly lit studio. Cameras framed Amara in profile, her face partially obscured by gentle shadow. She wore the cowrie-shell necklace, a glint of heritage. The journalist's questions were measured. Why speak now? Amara's voice trembled initially. Because quiet kept me imprisoned. Evidence freed me, but so did seeing that I wasn't the only one. She described patterns, isolation, financial control, threats disguised as concern. She never mentioned names. Teo became my former husband. She emphasized resources, hotlines, legal aid. When the interview aired 2 days later, it exploded across West African social media. Clips of her saying, "Leaving isn't failure, staying alive is success," spread with hashtags advocating reform. Survivors flooded New Dawn's inbox with messages. I thought I was crazy until I heard you. Donations surged. With virality came attacks, anonymous accounts calling her liar, gold digger. For a moment, old shame triggered panic. Jordan sat with her, scrolling through supportive messages to counterbalance. For every shadow, there's 10 lights, he said. The public attention rattled Teo, still restricted pending hearing. Through his lawyer, he proposed settlement. He would drop custody claims and avoid further contact if Amara refrained from pursuing additional charges. Mensa reviewed the offer. It protects you. though we still push for supervised visitation only if ever. Amara pondered. Pursuing full prosecution might keep him entangled in her life for years. Accepting allowed forward motion.
She chose peace.
An agreement was drafted with strict enforcement clauses. During a support group celebration, Jordan approached with gentle gravity. Amara with settlement. New Dawn will transition you to long-term counselor and local network. My direct involvement winds down. A hollow pang surprised her. Of course, she said. You've done enough. He smiled, bittersweet. You did it. I was a bridge. Fola bounded over with a tablet. Mummy, look. People drawing birds because of you. Indeed, a viral challenge encouraged survivors to post sketches of birds symbolizing freedom. Amara's chest glowed warm. Her narrative no longer belonged to Teo. It belonged to a movement. Months slipped by. Stability rooted. Amara began volunteering at New Dawn workshops, coaching new arrivals on documenting evidence. She and Mama Chica opened a small stall selling smoked fish and handcrafted jewelry, carousel pendants proving popular. Fola thrived at school, drawing birds in every margin. Jordan, increasingly busy expanding New Dawn to other regions, visited Cape Coast less. Communication softened into occasional check-ins. Distance emphasized his earlier promise. He would not occupy space needed for Amara's self-definition. Yet when he called one evening with an invitation, her heart quickened. We're launching an art exhibit in Accra, Gallery of Survivors.
Would you co-host? He asked.
Your plain portrait is centerpiece. Nerves fluttered. My face. Only the sketch, he assured. We obtained consent. It represents beginnings. At the opening, the gallery brimmed with canvases, abstract storms dissolving into sunrise, sculptures of broken locks, photographs of hands interlaced. Amara's portrait, Jordan's pencil rendering from that flight, hung framed in the first room. Next to it, a plaque, untitled, dedicated to those boarding their first lifeboat. Viewers lingered, whispering. Jordan approached wearing a simple suit. Seeing you standing beside it completes the piece, he said. She laughed softly. I look so haunted in it. You looked brave, he corrected. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. A journalist recognized her voice from the anonymous interview and asked for a quote. Amara obliged, chin lifted. Healing is communal architecture. The phrase circulated online, tying the exhibit to policy discussions. At the event's midpoint, Jordan unveiled a new initiative, scholarship funds for survivors pursuing education. Amara spoke briefly about reclaiming economic power. Fola tugged at her skirt afterwards. Mummy, when I'm big, I'll help other kids too. Pride swelled, so large it almost hurt. As the night waned, Amara wandered to a side room where Jordan stood alone studying another canvas. You look tired, she said. He chuckled. Expansion headaches. Good headaches. He turned. I wanted to tell you. I received an offer to partner with organizations abroad. It means travel. A lot. A ripple of loss surprised her again, but now it felt like watching a friend board his own plane. Then go, she said. Your sister's legacy deserves wide skies. He exhaled, relief mingling with something softer. Promise me you'll keep drawing birds. I promise. They embraced, not a rescue, not dependence, but mutual respect crystallized. 1 year after the midnight escape, Amara stood at Murtala Muhammad Airport in Lagos, voluntarily this time. New Dawn had invited her to speak on a West African advocacy tour. Her passport no longer symbolized desperation. It was a ticket she chose. Jordan was already abroad, sending a message that morning. Proud of you. Tailwinds. Fola, now more confident, skipped ahead wearing a backpack covered in hand-drawn birds. Mama Chica remained in Cape Coast to manage the stall, blessing them over video call with fervent prayers. As they boarded, Amara paused at the threshold of the aircraft door. Memory washed over, panic, turbulence, the first sketch. She touched the Cowra necklace. The flight attendant smiled. Welcome. Inside, they settled. Fola pressed her face to the window. Mummy, do you think the clouds remember us? Maybe, Amara said, laughing. We gave them a story. Mid-flight, as the plane leveled at cruising altitude, Amara opened her laptop to finalize her speech. It began, I once believed silence was safer than truth. Today I speak so that other women know silence is the cage, not the shield. She added thanks to community networks and emphasized legal strategies, turning personal survival into practical roadmap. A flight attendant approached. Are you the woman from the interview? My sister left her husband because of you. Emotion clogged Amara's throat. She squeezed the attendant's hand. Tell her she built her own runway, she said. Fola leaned on Amara's shoulder, drifting toward sleep. Clouds rolled past like slow white rivers. Amara pictured future chapters, educational programs, expanded shelters, Fola's growth unshadowed. Possibilities stretched wide as the horizon. She glanced at the seat number, 14B. Fate's wink. Across the aisle sat a young woman clutching a worn purse, eyes red, shoulders hunched in a posture Amara recognized intimately. For a heartbeat, the past overlapped the present. Amara tore a page from her notebook and sketched a quick bird, wings mid-beat. She wrote beneath, Sometimes leaving is braver than staying. You are not alone. Rising, she handed it to the woman with a soft smile. Recognition and gratitude shimmered in the stranger's eyes. Returning to her seat, Amara felt tears prick, of mourning, of triumph. She no longer needed a Jordan to steady her breathing. She had become that steady presence for others. Below, the continent unfurled, a patchwork of greens and browns. Above, engines thrummed like a promise. Amara closed her eyes and inhaled the thin air at 30,000 feet, not the air of escape, but of ascent. She wasn't running anymore. She was soaring. The end.